coming up pretty soon.
Well, I guess I should get ready to work on that show. Well, thank you all for showing up on the podcast today, and we'll see the rest of you this June.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tina.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the official Xbox podcast. I'm your host, Tina Amini, and we have a very special episode today, as you can probably tell by the fact that I'm joined by Phil, Sarah, and Matt. Welcome. And we're going to talk about some updates at Xbox. We want to talk about game exclusivity. We want to talk about Activision Blizzard now that they're part of our portfolio, how that might be an impact on Game Pass. And we want to talk about hardware too and how all of this fits into the strategy at Xbox. So where should we start, Phil?
Well, when we originally had planned for the show, starting back in December, I think we probably would have started with Activision Blizzard, maybe talked a little bit about the exclusivity with some of the news coming up, and then hardware. But we've had some unforeseen news that has come out. So let's just go and tackle the exclusivity question, because I know it's on the minds of a lot of people. We hear from the community, and that's an important input for us. So we made the decision that we're going to take 4 games to the other consoles, just 4 games, not a change to our kind of fundamental exclusive strategy. We're making these decisions for some specific reasons. We make every decision really with the long-term health of Xbox in mind. And long-term health of Xbox means a growing platform, our games performing, building the best platform for creators, reaching as many players as we can. We're always looking to learn as a leadership team and to grow. And we think this is an interesting point in time for us to use what some of the other platforms have right now to help grow our franchises. So we're going to do that.
So these 4 titles, what are they? Can you say?
I'm not going to name those games. The teams that are building those games have announced plans that are not too far away. As we know, game teams put a lot of energy into their announcements with the partners. So I don't want to take anything away from those teams. So I won't be talking about the titles specifically, but I think when they come out, it'll make sense.
Can we say if either of those titles are Starfield or Indiana Jones?
They are not Starfield or Indiana Jones.
Well, what was the criteria in how the team was thinking about selecting those 4 titles?
Let me start a little bit outside of that, and then I'll get to the 4 specific games that we're talking about right now. Because the fundamental decision driver for any decision that we make, anything we're going to talk about today, is the long-term health of Xbox. That we're running a growing platform that is reaching more players, that our games are having as much success as possible. And I do have a fundamental belief that over the next 5 or 10 years, exclusive games that are exclusive to one piece of hardware, are going to be a smaller and smaller part of the game industry. And that's not some great insight, because if you look at the last 10 years and what the biggest games are today, it's a natural place. Whether it's one console and PC, multiple consoles, mobile console and PC, you see big games landing on multiple platforms. And we want to be a great platform for creators that are trying to realize that potential. But now back to the specifics of the question on these four specific titles. We looked at games that are over a year old, so they've been on Xbox and PC for a while. A couple of the games are community-driven games, new games that kind of first iterations of a franchise that have reached their full potential, I'd say, on Xbox and PC. There's always growth. Franchises that we obviously want to continue to invest in. Part of having the ability to continue to invest is that the businesses behind those franchises continue. We think it's important that these service-based games that have communities behind them, that they can have confidence that they're going to exist in the future. So 2 of them, kind of community-driven games that will end up on other platforms and give us the ability to continue to invest in them. We think that's great for the business and great for the communities, more players to play with. I'd say 2 of the other games are smaller games that were never really meant to be built as kind of platform exclusives and all the fanfare that goes around that. But games that our teams really wanted to go build, that we love supporting creative endeavors across our studios, regardless of size. And as they've realized their full potential on Xbox and PC, we see an opportunity to utilize the other platforms as a place to just drive more business value out of those games, allowing us to invest in maybe future iterations of those, so sequels to those, or just other games like that in our portfolio. And when we don't damage Xbox and we can grow our business using what other platforms have and to help us with that, we're going to do that. And that's really the story behind these 4 games. And last thing I'll say, looking forward, I think there is an interesting story for us of introducing Xbox franchises to players on other platforms to get them more interested in Xbox. We think there's a good brand value for Xbox there. So 4 games, no promise beyond that. So if you're on those other platforms and you see these 4 games coming, please don't take it as some signal that everything's coming. It's not. And we're going to learn.
So when you are thinking about the future and this concept of live service games, games that can benefit from bigger audiences, new audiences, how does that apply to future titles and how you're applying that criteria there?
Yeah, there's really no fundamental change to how we think about exclusivity. We just came out of Developer Direct, which was an awesome show, where we showed great games that are coming to Xbox and PC and cloud, which really makes them accessible to hundreds of millions of people. So it's this kind of, we're really focused on a couple platforms and what's going to show up there. But our key of play the games you want with the people you want, anywhere you want, when everybody plays, we all win. These have been part of our strategy for years and will continue to be. Our focus is on how do we continue to grow the games industry by reaching more players in more places, and how do we grow Xbox as part of that. Xbox is a hardware platform, Xbox is a publisher of great games, and Xbox as a platform for the world's best creators.
Mm-hmm. And then knowing that, how do we think about our first-party games and Game Pass?
Yeah, well, to build on what Phil just said, one thing I would add, as you were talking about growth, is just that we've sort of seen this inversion over the last 5 years where it used to be that the platform was the biggest thing.
That's right.
And the games would sort of tuck in within the platform. Today, big games like a Roblox or a Fortnite could actually be bigger than any one platform.
Yeah,
and that really has changed the way that we think about things. So in the midst of all that, I think we at First Party can come back to sort of some core principles. First, that all of our games will be on the Xbox platform. Second, all of our games will go into Game Pass on day 1. And third, we know that Game Pass will only be available on Xbox. So there's sort of starting points for us. As Phil mentioned, there are games today that you can play that only can be found on Xbox. And at the same time, we want to bring more of our games to more players. So we're going to continue to look at that. Kind of moving aside, though, from some of those and thinking more about what does it really mean for the player, to me, the 2 key things are cross-play and cross-save. Those things allow us to deliver on the promise of Xbox, which is play with your friends where they are, play on the devices you want, play the games you want. So that is really only possible at a practical level when you know that your saves and your player are going to be able to move across all those parts. So not all of our games today are necessarily built to take advantage of that. There still will be some games that don't. As we bring more teams into the Xbox family, there's some catch up to do as we get there. But that cross-play, cross-save is like so fundamental to what we're doing, and I think is something that we as First Party get such a good benefit from being so close to the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things, like you said, all of our games are always in Game Pass. And so I'm excited to announce, with the coming together that we had with Activision Blizzard King, that Activision and Blizzard games are coming to Game Pass, starting with Diablo 4 on March 28th, which I'm super, super excited to share today. And it's all part of our commitment to make Xbox, the Xbox experience and the games that we build as widely available as possible. So now the 34 million Game Pass members can all enjoy the fantastic experience of Diablo 4.
Amazing. Can we come back to the point, Phil, you mentioned at the top, this isn't really a change in strategy for us. Can you recap for me how it isn't?
Yeah, and I thought both Matt and Sarah did a really nice job of talking about what we're doing on Xbox, where we're going. If you take a platform feature like Xbox Play Anywhere, which has been a promise that we've made on our first-party games, that you can buy our game once, you're going to get to play across Xbox and Windows. I think we're the only platform that does this. That makes it possible for you not only to play with your friends wherever they are, but to know that you actually have multiple entitlements to the games. I think that's a technology I would love to see applied to more platforms. But it is this view that people are going to play Xbox in multiple places, whether it's play the games you want with the people you want, anywhere you want, whether it's content, community, and cloud, whether it's when everybody plays, we all win. Like, we've had different taglines, different strategy, kind of words that we've used, but always with this view that Xbox is a platform for creators who want to reach the most players. Our investments in xCloud, our investments in franchises like Minecraft and now Call of Duty and other large franchises so that we learn how to build those. This has been a strategy that we've been on for, I'd say, a decade. It's not about one device. It's not about games in service of a device, but rather the devices that people want to play on should be in service of making the games as big and popular as they possibly could be. Because really, a healthy creator community on Xbox, a healthy creator community in gaming all up, is the thing that all of us as game players should be voting for, because that's the thing that will lead to the best long-term success and growth in this industry.
And my
Despite this, Republicans are sought to use. Please, I'll answer your question. Let me make a statement. What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden? Let me start again. Hunter Biden was and is a private citizen. What side does Republicans have sought to use him as a surrogate to attack his father? And despite their improper partisan motives, on 6 different occasions since February of 2023, we have offered to work the House committees to see what and how relevant information to any legitimate inquiry could be provided. Our first 5 offers were ignored. And then in November, they issued a subpoena for the behind closed doors deposition, a tactic that the Republicans have repeatedly misused in their political crusade to selectively leak and mischaracterize what witnesses have said. What are you going to do in the House? Last fall, Chairman Timmer made an explicit offer to conduct a full right and to have him an option to attend a deposition or a public hearing, whichever they chose. Hunter chose a hearing where Republicans could not distort, manipulate, or misuse that testimony.
Mr. Biden, why did you put your dad on speakerphone with your business partners if he had no involvement in your business?
Do you have a dad? Did he call you?
Yes.
Did you answer the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
But why did you need to talk to him during business meetings if he had nothing to do with your business?
Despite this, Republicans are sought to use. Please, I'll answer your question. Let me make a statement. What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden? Let me start again. Hunter Biden was and is a private citizen. What side does Republicans have sought to use him as a surrogate to attack his father? And despite their improper partisan motives, on 6 different occasions since February of 2023, we have offered to work the House committees to see what and how relevant information to any legitimate inquiry could be provided. Our first 5 offers were ignored. And then in November, they issued a subpoena for the behind closed doors deposition, a tactic that the Republicans have repeatedly misused in their political crusade to selectively leak and mischaracterize what witnesses have said. What are you going to do in the House? Last fall, Chairman Timmer made an explicit offer to conduct a full right and to have him an option to attend a deposition or a public hearing, whichever they chose. Hunter chose a hearing where Republicans could not distort, manipulate, or misuse that testimony.
Mr. Biden, why did you put your dad on speakerphone with your business partners if he had no involvement in your business?
Do you have a dad? Did he call you?
Yes.
Did you answer the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
But why did you need to talk to him during business meetings if he had nothing to do with your business?
Despite this, Republicans are sought to use. Please, I'll answer your question. Let me make a statement. What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden? Let me start again. Hunter Biden was and is a private citizen. What side does Republicans have sought to use him as a surrogate to attack his father? And despite their improper partisan motives, on 6 different occasions since February of 2023, we have offered to work the House committees to see what and how relevant information to any legitimate inquiry could be provided. Our first 5 offers were ignored. And then in November, they issued a subpoena for the behind closed doors deposition, a tactic that the Republicans have repeatedly misused in their political crusade to selectively leak and mischaracterize what witnesses have said. What are you going to do in the House? Last fall, Chairman Timmer made an explicit offer to conduct a full right and to have him an option to attend a deposition or a public hearing, whichever they chose. Hunter chose a hearing where Republicans could not distort, manipulate, or misuse that testimony.
Mr. Biden, why did you put your dad on speakerphone with your business partners if he had no involvement in your business?
Do you have a dad? Did he call you?
Yes.
Answer the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
But why did you need to talk to him during business meetings if he had nothing to do with your business?
Despite this, Republicans are sought to use. Please, I'll answer your question. Biden, let me make a statement. What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden? Let me start again. Hunter Biden was and is a private citizen. What side does Republicans have sought to use him as a surrogate to attack his father? And despite their improper partisan motives, on 6 different occasions since February of 2023, we have offered to work with the House committees to see what and how relevant information to any legitimate inquiry could be provided. Our first 5 offers were ignored. And then in November, they issued a subpoena for the behind closed doors deposition, a tactic that the Republicans have repeatedly misused in their political crusade to selectively leak and mischaracterize what witnesses have said. What are you going to do in the House? Last fall, Chairman Tender made an explicit offer to conduct people might register and to have an option to attend a deposition or a public hearing, whichever they chose. Hunter chose a hearing where Republicans could not distort, manipulate, or misuse that testimony.
Mr. Biden, why did you put your dad on speakerphone with your business partners if he had no involvement in your business?
Do you have a dad? Did he call you?
Yes.
Answer the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
But why did you need to talk to him during business meetings if he had nothing to do with your business?
Despite this, Republicans are sought to use. Please, I'll answer your question. Biden, let me make a statement. What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden? Let me start again. Hunter Biden was and is a private citizen. What side does Republicans have sought to use him as a surrogate to attack his father? And despite their improper partisan motives, on 6 different occasions since February of 2023, we have offered to work with the House committees to see what and how relevant information to any legitimate inquiry could be provided. Our first 5 offers were ignored. And then in November, they issued a subpoena for the behind closed doors deposition, a tactic that the Republicans have repeatedly misused in their political crusade to selectively leak and mischaracterize what witnesses have said. What are you going to do in the House? Last fall, Chairman Tender made an explicit offer to conduct people might register and to have an option to attend a deposition or a public hearing, whichever they chose. Hunter chose a hearing where Republicans could not distort, manipulate, or misuse that testimony.
Mr. Biden, why did you put your dad on speakerphone with your business partners if he had no involvement in your business?
Do you have a dad? Did he call you?
Yes.
Answer the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
But why did you need to talk to him during business meetings if he had nothing to do with your business?
Despite this, Republicans are sought to use. Please, I'll answer your question. Biden, let me make a statement. What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden? Let me start again. Hunter Biden was and is a private citizen. What side does Republicans have sought to use him as a surrogate to attack his father? And despite their improper partisan motives, on 6 different occasions since February of 2023, we have offered to work with the House committees to see what and how relevant information to any legitimate inquiry could be provided. Our first 5 offers were ignored. And then in November, they issued a subpoena for the behind closed doors deposition, a tactic that the Republicans have repeatedly misused in their political crusade to selectively leak and mischaracterize what witnesses have said. What are you going to do in the House? Last fall, Chairman Tender made an explicit offer to conduct people might register and to have an option to attend a deposition or a public hearing, whichever they chose. Hunter chose a hearing where Republicans could not distort, manipulate, or misuse that testimony.
Mr. Biden, why did you put your dad on speakerphone with your business partners if he had no involvement in your business?
Do you have a dad? Did he call you?
Yes.
Answer the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
But why did you need to talk to him during business meetings if he had nothing to do with your business?
Despite this, Republicans are sought to use. Please, I'll answer your question. Biden, let me make a statement. What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden? Let me start again. Hunter Biden was and is a private citizen. What side does Republicans have sought to use him as a surrogate to attack his father? And despite their improper partisan motives, on 6 different occasions since February of 2023, we have offered to work with the House committees to see what and how relevant information to any legitimate inquiry could be provided. Our first 5 offers were ignored. And then in November, they issued a subpoena for the behind closed doors deposition, a tactic that the Republicans have repeatedly misused in their political crusade to selectively leak and mischaracterize what witnesses have said. What are you going to do in the House? Last fall, Chairman Tender made an explicit offer to conduct people might register and to have an option to attend a deposition or a public hearing, whichever they chose. Hunter chose a hearing where Republicans could not distort, manipulate, or misuse that testimony.
Mr. Biden, why did you put your dad on speakerphone with your business partners if he had no involvement in your business?
Do you have a dad? Did he call you?
Yes.
Answer the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
But why did you need to talk to him during business meetings if he had nothing to do with your business?
Despite this, Republicans are sought to use. Please, I'll answer your question. Biden, let me make a statement. What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden? Let me start again. Hunter Biden was and is a private citizen. What side does Republicans have sought to use him as a surrogate to attack his father? And despite their improper partisan motives, on 6 different occasions since February of 2023, we have offered to work with the House committees to see what and how relevant information to any legitimate inquiry could be provided. Our first 5 offers were ignored. And then in November, Asia was subpoenaed for a behind closed doors deposition, a tactic that the Republicans have repeatedly misused in their political crusade to selectively leak and mischaracterize what witnesses have said. What are you going to do in the House? Last fall, Chairman Tender made an explicit offer that people might register and to have him an option to attend a deposition or a public hearing, whichever they chose. Hunter chose a hearing where Republicans could not distort, manipulate, or misuse that testimony.
Mr. Biden, why did you put your dad on speakerphone with your business partners if he had no involvement in your business?
Do you have a dad? Did he call you?
Yes.
Did you answer the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
But why did you need to talk to him during business meetings if he had nothing to do with your business?
Despite this, Republicans sought to use. Please, I'll answer your question. Let me make a statement. What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden? We start again. Hunter Biden was and is a private citizen. What side does Republicans have sought to use him as a surrogate to attack his father? And despite their improper partisan motives, on 6 different occasions since February of 2023, we have offered to work the House committees to see what and how relevant information to any legitimate inquiry could be provided. Our first 5 offers were ignored. And then in November, Asia was subpoenaed for a behind closed doors deposition, a tactic that the Republicans have repeatedly misused in their political crusade to selectively leak and mischaracterize what witnesses have said. What are you going to do in the House? Last fall, Chairman Tender made an explicit offer that people might register and to have him an option to attend a deposition or a public hearing, whichever they chose. Hunter chose a hearing where Republicans could not distort, manipulate, or misuse that testimony.
Mr. Biden, why did you put your dad on speakerphone with your business partners if he had no involvement in your business?
Do you have a dad? Did he call you?
Yes.
Did you answer the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
But why did you need to talk to him during business meetings if he had nothing to do with your business?
Despite this, Republicans sought to use. Please, I'll answer your question. Let me make a statement. What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden? We start again. Hunter Biden was and is a private citizen. What side does Republicans have sought to use him as a surrogate to attack his father? And despite their improper partisan motives, on 6 different occasions since February of 2023, we have offered to work the House committees to see what and how relevant information to any legitimate inquiry could be provided. Our first 5 offers were ignored. And then in November, Asia was subpoenaed for a behind closed doors deposition, a tactic that the Republicans have repeatedly misused in their political crusade to selectively leak and mischaracterize what witnesses have said. What are you going to do in the House? Last fall, Chairman Tender made an explicit offer that people might register and to have him an option to attend a deposition or a public hearing, whichever they chose. Hunter chose a hearing where Republicans could not distort, manipulate, or misuse that testimony.
Mr. Biden, why did you put your dad on speakerphone with your business partners if he had no involvement in your business?
Do you have a dad? Did he call you?
Yes.
Did you answer the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
But why did you need to talk to him during business meetings if he had nothing to do with your business?
Despite this, Republicans sought to use. Please, I'll answer your question. Let me make a statement. What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden? We start again. Hunter Biden was and is a private citizen. What side does Republicans have sought to use him as a surrogate to attack his father? And despite their improper partisan motives, on 6 different occasions since February of 2023, we have offered to work the House committees to see what and how relevant information to any legitimate inquiry could be provided. Our first 5 offers were ignored. And then in November, Asia was subpoenaed for a behind closed doors deposition, a tactic that the Republicans have repeatedly misused in their political crusade to selectively leak and mischaracterize what witnesses have said. What are you going to do in the House? Last fall, Chairman Tender made an explicit offer that people might register and to have him an option to attend a deposition or a public hearing, whichever they chose. Hunter chose a hearing where Republicans could not distort, manipulate, or misuse that testimony.
Mr. Biden, why did you put your dad on speakerphone with your business partners if he had no involvement in your business?
Do you have a dad? Did he call you?
Yes.
Did you answer the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
But why did you need to talk to him during business meetings if he had nothing to do with your business?
Despite this, Republicans sought to use. Please, I'll answer your question. Let me make a statement. What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden? We start again. Hunter Biden was and is a private citizen. What side does Republicans have sought to use him as a surrogate to attack his father? And despite their improper partisan motives, on 6 different occasions since February of 2023, we have offered to work the House committees to see what and how relevant information to any legitimate inquiry could be provided. Our first 5 offers were ignored. And then in November, Asia was subpoenaed for a behind closed doors deposition, a tactic that the Republicans have repeatedly misused in their political crusade to selectively leak and mischaracterize what witnesses have said. What are you going to do in the House? Last fall, Chairman Tender made an explicit offer that people might register and to have him an option to attend a deposition or a public hearing, whichever they chose. Hunter chose a hearing where Republicans could not distort, manipulate, or misuse that testimony.
Mr. Biden, why did you put your dad on speakerphone with your business partners if he had no involvement in your business?
Do you have a dad? Did he call you?
Yes.
Did you answer the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
But why did you need to talk to him during business meetings if he had nothing to do with your business?
Despite this, Republicans sought to use. Please, I'll answer your question. Let me make a statement. What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden? Let me start again. Hunter Biden was and is a private citizen. What side does Republicans have sought to use him as a surrogate to attack his father? And despite their improper partisan motives, on 6 different occasions since February of 2023, we have offered to work with the House committees to see what and how relevant information to any legitimate inquiry could be provided. Our first 5 offers were ignored. And then in November, they issued a subpoena for a behind closed doors deposition, a tactic that the Republicans have repeatedly misused in their political crusade to selectively leak and mischaracterize what this is said. In the House last fall, Chairman Tender made an explicit offer to conduct that by Hunter and to have an option to attend a deposition or a public hearing, whichever they chose. Hunter chose a hearing where Republicans could not distort, manipulate, or misuse that testimony.
Mr. Biden, why did you put your dad on speakerphone with your business partners if he had no involvement in your business?
Do you have a dad? Did he call you?
Yes.
Did you answer the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
But why did you need to talk to him during business meetings if he had nothing to do with your business?
Despite this, Republicans sought to use. Please, I'll answer your question. Let me make a statement. What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden? Let me start again. Hunter Biden was and is a private citizen. What side does Republicans have sought to use him as a surrogate to attack his father? And despite their improper partisan motives, on 6 different occasions since February of 2023, we have offered to work with the House committees to see what and how relevant information to any legitimate inquiry could be provided. Our first 5 offers were ignored. And then in November, they issued a subpoena for a behind closed doors deposition, a tactic that the Republicans have repeatedly misused in their political crusade to selectively leak and mischaracterize what witnesses have said. In the House last fall, Chairman Tender made an explicit offer to conduct that by Hunter and to have an option to attend a deposition or a public hearing, whichever they chose. Hunter chose a hearing where Republicans could not distort, manipulate, or misuse that testimony.
Mr. Biden, why did you put your dad on speakerphone with your business partners if he had no involvement in your business?
Do you have a dad? Did he call you?
Yes.
Did you answer the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
But why did you need to talk to him during business meetings if he had nothing to do with your business?
Despite this, Republicans sought to use. Please, I'll answer your question. Let me make a statement. What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden? Let me start again. Hunter Biden was and is a private citizen. Despite this, Republicans have sought to use him as a surrogate to attack his father. And despite their improper partisan motives, on 6 different occasions since February of 2023, we have offered to work with the House committees to see what and how relevant information to any legitimate inquiry could be provided. Our first 5 offers were ignored. And then in November, they issued a subpoena for a behind closed doors deposition, a tactic that the Republicans have repeatedly misused in their political crusade to selectively leak and mischaracterize what witnesses have said. What are you going to do in the House? Last fall, Chairman Tender made an explicit offer to conduct that people like Hunter and to have like him an option to attend a deposition or a public hearing, whichever they chose. Hunter chose a hearing where Republicans could not distort, manipulate, or misuse that testimony.
Mr. Biden, why did you put your dad on speakerphone with your business partners if he had no involvement in your business?
Do you have a dad? Did he call you?
Yes.
Did he answer the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
But why did you need to talk to him during business meetings if he had nothing to do with your business?
Hunter Biden was a private citizen. Despite this, Republicans sought to use. Please, I'll answer your question. Be quiet and let me make a statement. What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden? Let me start again. Hunter Biden was and is a private citizen. Despite this, Republicans have sought to use him as a surrogate to attack his father. And despite their improper partisan motives, on 6 different occasions since February of 2023, we have offered to work with the House committees to see what and how relevant information to any legitimate inquiry could be provided. Our first 5 offers were ignored. And then in November, they issued a subpoena for a behind-closed-doors deposition, a tactic that the Republicans have repeatedly misused in their political crusade to selectively leak and mischaracterize what witnesses have said. What are you going to do with that?
Out there. And elderly people, they're the ones who all deserve to get that vaccine first.
Well, that makes sense. So how do we make that happen? Especially how can philanthropy help, or is it only government policy? How do we get to that necessary place?
Yeah, we've had a lot of philanthropists come in on this in various ways, including what we call the Therapeutics Accelerator. Number of generous philanthropists have helped support that. Philanthropy can move a little bit quicker, support things that haven't gone through the same complex process. In the long run, the really big funding, as you're getting up into many billions, that will be governmental money. But the idea of getting the right scientists, the early candidates backed, getting the factories done in parallel, philanthropy will have played a key role. We helped fund a trial in the UK.
Broadway star. She wanted to be a performer.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much. Thank you all. Okay, that's plenty. Thank you all very, very much. I know that applause was really for our 40th wedding anniversary today. Isn't that great? Good evening, and welcome everyone to another sold-out Engage event. I'd like to recognize the Bush Center board members who are in attendance, Billy Hickey and Mary Margaret Hickey and their daughter Anne Marie Hickey, and Jean Phillips and her daughter Maggie. I'm especially excited about tonight's Engage program because it features our daughters, Barbara and Jenna. When I first learned I was going to be a mother, I pictured two babies in my mind. So when the doctor told George and me that we were having twins, my deepest wish was coming true. On November 25th, 1981, our girls arrived, 5 weeks early, small and healthy and feisty from the moment they were born. Barbara and Jenna were named for each of our mothers. Barbara arrived first, Jenna second, and from then on, George and I each had a baby to hold. Of course, with every wish comes the famous second phrase, be careful what you wish for. George and I had little experience with babies, and suddenly we were heading home with two, and it's not an exaggeration to say they cried all the time. It took a few months of trial and error, but at last we adjusted to our twins, and they began to adjust to the world. We knew their personalities early on. Barbara was a collector of rocks, leaves, and piles of Easter eggs. Jenna was a homebody and a protector. When we were selling our little townhouse in Midland, Jenna got on her tricycle and rode in tight circles around the prospective buyer's feet, pinning her to our concrete patio. Both girls were eager explorers, making their way into every nook and cranny of our house, and then venturing down the sidewalk and around the block. Both loved to use their imaginations, creating a cat family and a language of meowing that we found adorable and their grandparents found hard to understand. I loved every single stage of their growing up, From the time as preschoolers when they scared us half to death by playing on the rocks above the ocean in Maine, to their impromptu theatrical performances, to the hundreds of times they danced up and down the hallways in our Dallas ranch house. I even love their teenage years, although I'm not yearning to repeat them. What I've loved most is watching them grow together. As an only child, my greatest wish was for a sister or brother. For their entire lives, Jenna and Barbara have had each other. They've been playmates, confidants, cheerleaders, sounding boards, and dreamers. They've been partners in persuasion, right down to their relentless lobbying to get their ears pierced. Though only Jenna lobbied me to get a perm. Any night at any house could become a slumber party, and often did. When she heard ghostly noises in the White House, Jenna ran to get in bed with Barbara. Barbara was the one who got Jenna ready for her first date with her future husband, Henry, and she was the one who was there for the birth of both of Jenna's children. Jenna's the one who pushed Barbara to follow her.
That is to allow the cartels to operate unimpeded. And so if people say it's controversial, I would say the people who say it's controversial are people who have an interest in making it appear controversial. There's actually very few people who agree with them on that. But the main thing that we do is we're a defense products company. So Anduril is trying to be the world's next major defense contractor. Our primary product is a piece of AI software called Lattice. It powers all of our hardware systems. It ties together hundreds of systems that are made by other companies, taking data from every sensor so that it can be a sensor for every person and for every weapon and for every effector of every other kind. And our goal is that you have the best information possible when you're in any type of situation where lives are on the line. You want to know where all the good guys are. You want to know where all the bad guys are. And you want to be extremely certain as to which is which and what the best way to respond is. And we built a lot of hardware products on top of Lattice, but we have a lot more people working on software than hardware. So despite the appearance of a hardware company, and I'm a hardware guy, at the end of the day, most of what we do is driven by software.
So let's talk about, you raised more money than almost any other startup last year. There's been this flood of VC capital into defense tech. And I know you've said, we're making defense sexy again. Founders Fund was one of your earliest investors. Andreessen now, we've seen Sequoia getting into defense tech. Why is this happening now? Did it take a war?
Because everyone is finally opening their eyes. When we started Anduril, we struggled to raise any money. And this was a guy who just sold his last company for billions of dollars. So that wasn't the issue. But the responses we were met with from investors were somewhere kind of a mix between indifference and scorn. So on the indifference side, people saying, well, we live at the end of history. There's not going to be any more conflict. Economic entanglement precludes any kind of large-scale warfare in the future, and so what you're doing is just a waste of time, and so I don't care about it. The other side is people saying any use of force is wrong, and what you're doing is evil, and so I won't be involved. And I think the reason that you've seen things shift over the last few years has been a recognition that we don't live at the end of history. There are still people in the world who want to use large-scale violence to achieve their aims. There are unfortunately countries that have a reasonable position that is the only way that they are going to be able to continue to expand and to grow per their aims. There was a lot of belief years ago that China was going to westernize, that they were going to adopt more of the principles of the West, and that they were going to be a good part going into the future. And I think that was tied to so many tech companies making the bet that they would be allowed into China, that they would be able to make that into a market for them. Today, the equation has shifted. I think a lot of the attitude shift has been driven maybe by something a little more